Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new charge attack in the world of Pokemon Go, SANDSEAR Storm. SANDSEAR Storm is a ground-type clone of the move Icy Wind, and it's being given to Therian Landorus. You can get it via an Elite Charge TM, or by getting one from a 5-star raid. SANDSEAR Storm immediately catapults Therian Landorus, in my view, to an A+ or S tier Master League Pokemon, as a Pokemon with a massive attack stat but not a lot of bulk, has incredible synergy with a move that debuffs the opponent's attack. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Hopping to the first match, picking up an amazing lead, Therian Landorus into Solgaleo. The Solgaleo matchup for Landorus is dramatically improved by having access to SANDSEAR Storm. Not only are you able to debuff their attack to help keep pace, so to speak, with their Psychic Fangs debuffs, but on top of that, you're able to hit for a super effective damage with your charge attacks. I'm able to build up to a Stone Edge, grab a shield with a SANDSEAR Storm, and now that the Kyurem is debuffed, it's a lot less threatening for me to send in the Dialga. They're firing off 2 Glaciates. I'm now double debuffed. I'm not quite going to be able to farm down, so I am going to fire off the last second Iron Head just before they're able to make their Dragon Claw. Iron Head is going to pick up the knockout. Opponent sends in Solgaleo. I'm farming up. I'm able to make it to a last second Iron Head just before the Fire Spin is able to pick up the knockout. I'm going to be sending back in the Landorus. In the back, it's Rayquaza, and I send in Reshiram. Reshiram able to hit for quite a lot of damage here, but unfortunately, I'm taking super effective damage as well. I'm farming up with the Reshiram, firing off the Fusion Flare right at the end of their Dragon Tail. The Fusion Flare does get the shield. We're going to see Rayquaza try and commit to the farm down, and it's a simultaneous KO. Back in comes the Solgaleo, and I have energy on the Landorus. Going for the SANDSEAR Storm. Keep in mind, that is an Icy Wind clone, but Landorus has an insane attack stat. Here, they're at the back-to-back Psychic Fang, so this is, in my view, a very safe shield, because due to the attack debuff, even when I get debuffed by Psychic Fangs, the next one is not going to KO. My lose condition was no shielding something like a Flamethrower, so I shield the first, the SANDSEAR Storm picks up the knockout. SANDSEAR Storm is a clone of the move Icy Wind, a move that's not known for its damage output, but on a Pokemon with a monster attack stat like Landorus, as we see, it does a ton of damage. I see an amazing lead in the next match, Therian Landorus into Dialga. My opponent safe switches into their own Landorus, and since switch takes a turn, this is a really important part of the match. If I throw my Stone Edge as soon as I get it, my opponent doesn't get their full sneak, so I will always be one mud shot ahead in this mirror because I threw the Stone Edge as soon as I got it. And that's due to the fact that my opponent switched in, and since switch takes a turn, they're one turn behind. I do want to preserve the Landorus here, but I decide to let this go and instead send in Reshiram. Reshiram is going to look for a farm down. They're only going to make it to a SANDSEAR Storm, but look at the damage here. That does so much damage. They send in the Dialga, but I'm able to make it to a last second Fusion Flare. That damage is just absolutely crazy from an Icy Wind clone, but Landorus, that's what it's known for. It's very glassy, which means that it has amazing synergy with a move that can debuff the opponent's attack, similar to how we saw the prevalence of Rayquaza before Breaking Swipe got nerfed. I shield up the Draco Meteor. In the back, it's going to be a Shadow Metagross. I'm farming up, trying to throw in the middle of the Bullet Punch. Unfortunately, the game was very, very stuttery today. I continue to farm. Opponent is going to fire off their charge attack. That's going to pick up the knockout. Now, this Shadow Metagross is still extremely healthy. There's no way that a SANDSEAR Storm KOs from here, right? Right? Nope, it just KOs. They bring in their Landorus, I farm up, and I win the coin flip charge attack priority there. Honestly, I should have overfarmed a bit more versus the Metagross, and then it wouldn't have come down to charge attack priority, but we're still able to take the win. Another game, another Dialga lead, and Landorus is absolutely feasting. Opponent, oh no, it looks like they're lagging to start, so I'm going to wait for them. I'm going to wait for them to get some energy, and then fire up the SANDSEAR Storm. I don't know if I was able to give them the full amount of Dragon Breaths back, but I tried to make it as close as I could, because it's always just a feels bad moment when your opponent lags at the start. I've definitely been that player before, where I've lagged at the start, and it's a very frustrating experience, so I did try and wait for them. They're going to save switch into Kyogre, and this is demonstrating why Kyogre, it can be a very powerful Pokemon, but on the save switch, it's very easy for it to get hard walled. I'm going to throw the Draco Meteor on charge attack priority to the Blizzard. They're going to send in their own Dialga. I think I can make it to another Draco here, and I can make it to another Draco. I haven't run Dialga in a while, and oh my goodness, this thing is just a beast. In the back, they have Ho-Oh, and now I can execute an extremely devious plan. Stone Edge would one-shot, so they have to respect this, but I can apply a debuff with SANDSEAR Storm, send in the Reshiram. They have no way of getting rid of the Reshi, and they resign the match. Moving into the next match, we have a Mirror Lead Landorus versus Landorus. This is something I'm expecting we're going to see a lot. This Pokemon is dramatically improved. Stone Edge doesn't quite knock out, but it does quite a lot of damage. I decide to bait with a SANDSEAR Storm, and I get the shield. That's absolutely massive. Now I should just be in control of this lead matchup. My opponent fires off the Stone Edge. That still does quite a lot of damage. Again, Landorus, not a tanky Pokemon, but that's part of why it has this amazing synergy with SANDSEAR Storm. I continue to farm up with my Landorus, switch into Dialga. Did I catch the Stone Edge? Did I do it? I did. I catch the Stone Edge. That's absolutely massive. They're firing off energy. This is a really tough call to make. I decide to shield the SANDSEAR Storm because it does so much damage, but now I really regret that shield because I'm already in a range where a close combat will be able to knock out. So I fire off the Iron Head. My opponent can very comfortably no shield since I'm debuffed, and here I'm just going to let the Dialga go. There's not really a point in shielding for me. My opponent looks like they're running Wild Charge and Play Rough, and they actually opt to go for the Wild Charge there. A Wild Charge, it'll be very close to knocking out here, we'll have to see. It's not able to knock out. I send in the Landorus, and I'm firing off SANDSEAR Storm. This is going to pick up the knockout. My opponent is very debuffed, so they're not going to be shielding. They send back in their Landorus, and here I make a big misplay. My opponent is in a range where a SANDSEAR Storm, even though it's double resisted, would be able to knock out. That was just unfamiliarity with the new move, the reason why I threw the Stone Edge. And we can see the SANDSEAR Storm damage there. Like, it would have been able to knock out my opponent. They're going to send in Yveltal. Unfortunately, I can't make it to the Stone Edge, but SANDSEAR Storm, even though it does basically no damage, comes with a guaranteed attack drop. I can send in the Reshiram. Opponent no longer has a Wingon, and they resign the match. Moving into the next match, what a lead for Landorus. Landorus into Rhyperior. This is another matchup that is made way better by the fact that Landorus now has SANDSEAR Storm. Not only do you have that guaranteed debuff, which can help if the opponent gets that 50% chance at a debuff with Breaking Swipe, but you're not debuffing yourself with your attack and defense by going for Superpower. They go for the Rock Wrecker. I'm able to tank that since I got the SANDSEAR Storm debuff. They send in the Lugia. I can fire off the Stone Edge, and now I'm going to go for a one-shield farm down with Dialga. Dialga is at its most powerful when it's in an energy advantage or shield advantage scenario, and I can generate a massive energy advantage. If I shield the Aeroblast correctly, which I do, I can farm down. I'm going to leave with 100 energy, and there's almost no Pokemon in the format, barring something like a Solgaleo or a Heatran, that is comfortable dealing with this energy. They send in Rhyperior, and I can fire off the Iron Head. Iron Head comes very close to knocking out. Opponent is going to save the Rhyperior with low HP and send in the Dialga. I'm firing off the Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor plus a SANDSEAR Storm should be game over here, but I didn't realize that I was 5 off. I thought I was 4 off, and that's a big misplay. I've now given my opponent's Dialga a ton of energy. Is that misplay going to lose me the game? I could have just sent in the Reshiram and won right away, but I really wanted to show off the new move. And Reshiram, thankfully, is able to outpace. Crisis averted there. That was almost a throw on my end, but the Rhyperior, it's 1 HP, so it's not getting to a move. Moving into the next match, leading Therian Landorus into another Therian Landorus. As I mentioned, we're going to be seeing a lot of this. This Pokemon should rightfully be absolutely everywhere. I do lose charge attack priority here. It is a coin flip since we're both 15 attack, but neither one of us has the best buddy equipped. I shield up the Stone Edge, I'm baiting with the SANDSEAR Storm, and I get a shield from my opponent. That is very, very nice. I'm farming up, going for the Stone Edge, and this time I do win the coin flip for charge attack priority. This Stone Edge is not debuffed, that does quite a lot of damage, but theirs is, so I feel pretty comfortable no shielding. My opponent lands the Stone Edge. I have more HP in this matchup, which is really, really nice. I fire off the Stone Edge. Stone Edge will be lethal. If this is a decision point in the match for my opponent, they're going to let it through. They're going to send in Zekrom. We saw how much a SANDSEAR Storm did to a Reshiram. It's going to do so much damage to a Zekrom. They're forced to shield, and now I pivot Reshiram. They're debuffed, which is going to make them switch out because they really, really do not want to have to deal with a mirror of these lesser dragons where their Dragon Breaths are debuffed. I land the Fusion Flare. My opponent is able to get the farm down on 1 HP, but I can just send in the Landorus because a Mud Shot should KO from there. They're forced to throw their energy, and then my Dialga up a shield is in a winning position. They have a massive energy advantage. All I have to do is just protect against a potential Outrage because that's their win con at this point. Land in the Outrage. They full send the Outrage with the shield. There's no longer a win con, and the opponent resigns the match. Moving into the next match, we see a very bad lead. Therian Landorus into Kyogre. I'm going to save switch into my Dialga. My opponent is going to send in their own Dialga. I did see a Kyogre lead earlier, and I ended up save switching the Reshiram, which traditionally is what you would want to do. Switch in, not your hard counter, but your softer counter, and it didn't end up going the way that I wanted it to, so when I saw the second Kyogre lead, I tried to save switch the Dialga, because a lot of Kyogre teams, it turns out, are very, very weak to an energy lead Dialga. Their best answer is their own Dialga. Here, the Dialga has an Iron Head, but they don't have a Draco. I try and snipe with the Dragon Breath. The Dragon Breath should go first there, but unfortunately, as you can see, I get one turn bring in. They still get the Iron Head. It's almost no damage, but it is still an instance of the game not working accurately. In the back, it's going to be Xerneas, and Xerneas can do quite a lot of damage with Moonblast. I'm farming up and I'm firing off the Fusion Flare. Fusion Flare will do a lot of damage to the Xerneas, but of course it's not going to be enough to knock out. My opponent is at 100 energy here. They fire off the Moonblast. They're 2 off the next Moonblast or 1 off the next Close Combat. So this is going to be the close combat. Close combat, not going to KO. I'm going to farm up as much as I can, switch into the Landorus, and Landorus is going to be able to catch the close combat. My opponent now going to send in Kyogre. I'm farming up with the Landorus, and I'm going for SANDSEAR Storm. This is because if I can debuff them and survive 2 more waterfalls, I put them in Fusion Flare range, but I just cannot. This is not Fusion Flare range. I'm forced to go for the Draco, and debuffing my attack is going to mean that these double resisted Dragon Breaths just do not KO. Moving into the next match, leading Therian Landorus into Mamoswine. Now this is a matchup where one might say you wish that you had superpower, but honestly, I still don't feel super bad being Landorus here. My opponent is going to be firing off their Iron Head. Iron Head does not knock out, so I'm going to be able to make it to a Fusion Flare. Fusion Flare will not be enough to knock out either, so my opponent, if they've been counting, knows they are going to be able to no-shield. This does set up a very nice farm for the Therian Landorus, and even though I can't threaten with a superpower anymore, SANDSEAR Storm still does a lot of damage. So I get a very nice energy advantage. In comes the Mamoswine, and I'm firing off the SANDSEAR Storm. Keep in mind, this is neutral damage, and it still does just about half to the Mamoswine. I send in the Dialga, and in the back, they have Giratina. The most common Mamoswine team is Mamoswine Double Dragon, and it tends to be very soft to opposing Dialgas. I no-shield because even if it's a Shadow Ball, I can withstand the damage, and I would love to preserve at least one shield for the Landorus to make my opponent try and commit to a farm down. So I end up no-shielding an Ominous Wind. They're firing off a Shadow Ball, and you know what? I'm leaving it all up to Landorus. Let's watch Landorus cook in this endgame. There's a little bit of lag there when I send in, so unfortunately I do get the one-turn bring-in, but it's not going to matter. Keep in mind, this should be one of Landorus' worst matchups, going against Mamoswine, double super effective damage. I'm now going to be able to fire off the SANDSEAR Storm, that plus a Mud Shot KOs, and they just resign the match. Hopping into the final match, leading Therian Landorus into Therian Landorus. Again, if I could change one thing about the team, I might adjust the Reshiram pick slightly just so I'm a bit stronger to opposing Landorus. My opponent is going to win charge attack priority. They bait with the SANDSEAR Storm. That was what I was doing, so I'm a bit frustrated there that I ended up shielding the bait, and they no-shield my bait. So things rapidly going downhill in this final match. They're now going to fire off the Stone Edge. That does a decent amount of damage. I did debuff them already. I'm going to land a Stone Edge here most likely, and then I'm going to look for a Stone Edge catch onto my Dialga. So I farm up. But it's a simultaneous switch, Dialga into Dialga. I'm going to farm up to the Draco Meteor, go for the Iron Head, and I do win the coin flip charge attack priority. That is a massive, massive advantage here, as now I'm very comfortable no-shielding. I can go for energy lead on the Reshiram, and especially when they go for the Draco Meteor, they're now unable to make it to a second Draco Meteor. They can make it to an Iron Head, but an Iron Head is not going to threaten Reshiram, especially when their attack has already been debuffed by 2 stages. They're going for the Iron Head. Very, very comfortable no-shield here. I was counting, so not enough for the Draco. I'm expecting them to send in the Landorus. When they do, I'm going to look to switch, but instead they send in the Zacian, so that way I'm unable to just see the typing and switch. They get some energy. They go for the SANDSEAR Storm. I'm farming up energy. I switch into my Landorus, and now I'm learning from last time. SANDSEAR Storm should be enough to knock out. So I SANDSEAR Storm. Storm. They're going to shield. I'm farming up, but I'm just short of energy there. They're going to be able to make it to their own SANDSEAR Storm. I continue to farm up. I go for the SANDSEAR Storm, but I lose the coin flip. Losing the coin flip, definitely not ideal, as now I believe this range right quick attack is going to be able to knock me out. The SANDSEAR Storm picks up the knockout. My opponent sends in the Zacian. The game is not moving. They get the farm down, but I have so much energy on this Reshiram. I'm at the back-to-back Fusion Flares, and Fusion Flare is an incredibly good move. Fusion Flare number 1, followed by Fusion Flare number 2, is going to spell victory in this game. The game continues to just not let the damage land. At long last, it finally does, and we take the win. All in all, SANDSEAR Storm is an amazing addition to Therian Landorus, and in my view, there is no reason to keep Superpower on Therian Landorus anymore, as SANDSEAR Storm just does what Superpower does, but way better. It makes the Dialga matchup incredibly more consistent. You no longer have to go for Stone Edge baits versus Steel types because you don't want to debuff yourself, and the ability to consistently debuff the opponent's attack is really, really nice synergy for a Pokemon that doesn't have a lot of bulk like Therian Landorus. All in all, this is just an amazing addition to the Master League, especially in a Master League that has felt a lot more alignment dependent with how strong the core of Zygarde plus Solgaleo are, and this Pokemon, SANDSEAR Storm Therian Landorus, has play into both. It completely destroys the Solgaleo, and with a 1 Mudshot head start, can actually defeat Zygarde as well. So I think that if you have a Therian Landorus, this is absolutely worth the Elite Charge TM, as SANDSEAR Storm is an amazing addition. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.